Welcome to Dark Terrors channel, where the veils of darkness are lifted to reveal the most eerie and spectral stories in history. In this episode, we will delve into the depths of Andalusia in the 1800s, a land rich in charm and mystery, but also shrouded in darkness and horror. Prepare to immerse yourself in three spine-chilling tales, rooted in the history of this captivating place, where shadows of the past still linger among ruins, and villages exchange their darkest secrets. But now, it's time to ask you two crucial questions. Are you ready to confront the darkness and discover more haunting stories from around the world? And which of the three stories has affected you the most, sending shivers down your spine? You will witness the clash between injustice and revenge in a supernatural struggle, as tormented spirits seek justice for crimes committed by human hands. An innocent man unjustly condemned to death, a ruthless wealthy family, and a serial killer who seems to emerge straight from Andalusian legends, all intertwined in a dark dance of terror. Join us in this eerie adventure as we explore the buried mysteries among the ruins of a bygone era and uncover the horrors hidden in the region's darkest secrets. Tune in to Dark Terrors channel to immerse yourself in these horrifying stories that left their mark on Andalusia in the 1800s. Be ready to face your worst nightmares and discover the dark side of a land steeped in charm and mystery. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, ring the bell to never miss a shadow of terror. Your support will give us the strength to keep telling you the most terrifying and captivating stories Andalusia has to offer. We await you in the shadows, if you dare.
Story 1: The Redemption of Lost Souls. In the heart of Andalusia, during the cold winter of the 1800s, a mysterious ancient village lay hidden. Known only to a few, this village seemed frozen in time, surrounded by a dense forest of dark oaks and cypresses that shielded it from prying eyes. Legend has it that a noble family, the Ramirezes, once ruled the village with an iron fist. Their residence, a magnificent villa now in ruins, was the emblem of the power they exerted over those lands. However, a terrible disaster befell them in a freezing December many years ago. It is said that the Ramirezes conspired against the villagers, employing dark magic to maintain their dominion. The villagers themselves organized a plot against them, setting fire to the villa with the Ramirezes still inside. Their death was horrific, but it seems their tormented spirits never found peace. Since then, the villa was said to be cursed. No brave soul dared venture into its decaying ruins, and only the sound of the wind through the crumbling walls was heard on the darkest nights. On a moonless night, when darkness was thicker than ever, a curious young man named Miguel happened to pass by the sinister place. He was a studious fellow, fascinated by the occult, eager to prove to himself and the world that ghosts and tales of ancient curses were mere country legends. Miguel carried with him an old spellbook and a bronze candelabrum to light his way. As he entered the ruins, he felt an oppressive sense of being watched. He kept looking over his shoulder, but saw nothing, only the darkness seemingly alive with shadows. As Miguel ventured deeper into the heart of the villa, he began to hear strange noises. Soft footsteps, unsettling whispers, faint murmurs carried by the wind. The young man shuddered but pressed on, drawn by an unknown force urging him forward. He reached the main hall of the villa, where it was said the Ramirezes held their darkest rituals. The walls were adorned with faded and dusty family portraits. When Miguel's gaze fell upon the portrait of the young daughter of the Ramirezes, Ana, a chill ran down his spine. The eyes in the painting seemed to follow him wherever he went. Miguel tried to use incantations to drive away the malevolent spirits, but his attempts were in vain. The ghosts drew closer and closer until they completely surrounded him.
"Who dares disturb our peace?" uttered a hoarse, inhuman voice.
Miguel tried to flee, but it seemed he was trapped in a spiral of terror. Suddenly, spectral figures began to materialize around him. The ghosts of the Ramirezes. They were pale, with red, wide-open eyes, dressed in clothes worn by time. the young man gathered his courage and confronted the spirits firmly. "I beg you, leave me be. I mean no harm," he pleaded. "You have no right to be here. Go away," whispered the voice of Ana Ramirez, the ghost of the young daughter. Miguel understood the spirits were not evil but tormented souls seeking rest. With tenderness and respect, he begged for their forgiveness for disturbing their peace and offered to help them find solace. The apparition seemed to waver, and tears filled Ana's eyes. Finally, they accepted Miguel's apologies and slowly drifted away, vanishing into the darkness. The young scholar left the village with a heart filled with empathy for those tormented souls and the desire to reveal the true story of the Ramirezes to the world. Since then, the enigmatic village was not forgotten, and the truth about the Ramirez family and their tragic end was rediscovered and passed down through generations. The shadows of the past, once terrifying, became a testament to the importance of understanding and respecting history. And the heart of Andalusia, with its mysterious village, learned the lesson that forgiveness and compassion are the keys to free oneself from the ghosts of the past and finally find peace.
Story 2: The River's Shadow. In the heart of the splendid Andalusia, a remote and fascinating village lay hidden, known as El Pueblo del Rio, due to its picturesque location along the banks of the majestic Guadalquivir River. The villagers of El Pueblo del Rio lived proudly by their traditions and the ancient legends surrounding the village, but behind that apparent tranquility lurked an unimaginable horror. The tale of terror began with a series of mysterious disappearances. Young women with vibrant eyes and radiant smiles vanished without a trace, giving rise to villagers' fear of a dark curse. Stories of supernatural creatures roaming the shadows circulated, and the village's shadow seemed to have a life of its own. One night, as a thick fog blanketed the village, a lone traveler named Alejandro happened to pass by the eerie place. He was a curious outsider, drawn to the dark tales circulating in those lands. As he proceeded, he saw a figure emerge from the darkness, sinister in appearance. The being was wrapped in a dark cloak, its face concealed by shadows. Intrigued, Alejandro decided to investigate, but the entity noticed his presence, and its eyes glowed eerily in response. Without hesitation, Alejandro began to run, chased by the terrifying creature. Evil laughter echoed through the trees as the young outsider desperately sought refuge. The night was long and fearful, but finally, with the first light of dawn, Alejandro managed to reach the village. Still trembling with fear, he recounted his chilling experience to the villagers, who now were certain that a supernatural entity lurked among them. With a heart full of courage, Alejandro convinced the villagers to investigate the strange disappearances together. As they explored the village, the young outsider discovered sinister clues, signs of dark and macabre rituals performed by a wicked human. As Alejandro dug deeper, a disturbing truth emerged. There was no supernatural monster, but rather a ruthless and heartless serial killer terrorizing the village. He had hidden in the shadows, camouflaging himself among the legends created by fear, deceiving everyone into believing that a supernatural horror was rampaging. With his determination and the help of the villagers, Alejandro unmasked the killer, revealing his true identity. The murderer was an elderly man with crazed eyes and a sadistic grin, who had never aroused suspicion among his neighbors. The news struck the village, carrying a mixture of terror and relief. The shadow of the river had been eliminated, but the evil he had sown still lingered in the souls of the villagers. The elderly killer was arrested and brought to justice. His trial revealed a sick mind, incapable of empathy for his victims. Eventually, he was convicted for his heinous crimes and taken away by the authorities. The village, freed from its nightmare, bore the scars of its dark history. But with Alejandro's help, the community found the courage to confront its demons and unite to heal from the wounds inflicted by the river's shadow. Since then, El Pueblo del Rio kept the memory of that horror alive, to never forget the importance of protecting each other from shadows that could still threaten to obscure their peace. And despite the nightmares of the past, the village began to shine again, fueled by hope for a better future.
Story 3: Javier's Dark Vengeance. In 1800s Andalusia, among the shadows of a remote village, lived a poor man named Javier. He was a humble laborer, cherished by all the villagers for his kindness and generosity. However, at the heart of that place, resided a wealthy landowning family, the Montenegros, who ruled the village with arrogance and cruelty. One day, one of the Montenegro's sons was found dead, and mysterious circumstances led to blaming Javier for the murder. Despite his protests of innocence, the power and wealth of the Montenegros prevailed, and Javier was unjustly sentenced to death. The day of the execution came, cold and rainy. Javier, with a broken heart and tears in his eyes, was taken out of the prison and led to the place of hanging, while the villagers watched in silence, burdened by the weight of distorted justice. As the rope was wound around Javier's neck, the sky suddenly darkened, and a lightning bolt tore through the sky. A resounding thunder filled the air, but it wasn't the only sound heard. An eerie laughter, like a mournful echo, joined the storm's roar, and all present turned to seek the source of that spectral sound. It was a tall man, dressed in black, with dark eyes like coal and a mad, vengeful gaze. It was Diego Montenegro, the brother of the deceased young man, and he proclaimed himself responsible for the murder. He had framed Javier to protect his family's reputation and was now ready to confess the truth. The villagers were aghast, but justice had been served. Diego Montenegro was arrested and condemned for his crime, but his mind had already fallen into the abyss of darkness. Once the storm had passed, Javier was buried in the village cemetery, but his death wouldn't mark the end of his story. The following nights, the inhabitants began to hear strange and spectral noises emanating from the graveyard. Mysterious shadows moved among the tombstones, and the wind seemed to whisper Javier's name. An atmosphere of terror enveloped the village, and many nights passed with the villagers barricaded in their homes, fearing to encounter Javier's vengeful specter. One night, while the moon was veiled by dark clouds, Diego Montenegro woke up in terror, convinced he heard heavy footsteps approaching his door. The sound drew nearer until a spectral figure materialized before him. It was Javier, pale-faced and lifeless, a mute cry of vengeance in his gaze. Without uttering a word, the ghost seized Diego with a chilling grip and dragged him away, as if Javier's spirit were leading him into the darkness that had consumed him in life. The villagers tell that from that night on, Javier's ghost continued to wander the village, seeking revenge on those who had contributed to his unjust death. The rumors spoke of spectral visions, muffled complaints carried by the wind, and the appearance of eerie shadows, signs of Javier's wrath tormenting the Montenegros and anyone who committed injustices. As time went by, the village became known for its dark and eerie reputation. The inhabitants were forced to live with the awareness that Javier's vengeful shadow would continue to haunt them until justice was achieved for his unjust death.
Are you ready to confront the darkness and discover more haunting stories from around the world? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss the upcoming chilling stories that await you. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed our tales, ring the bell to be always notified when we release new videos, and share with your friends to spread horror all around the world. Keep following us on Dark Terrors channel, where each story might be even more haunting than the previous one. May darkness protect your dreams, and be ready to face new adventures into the abyss of terror.